I think about a little invention, kind of a neat way to do things, is a Swedish torch. It comes under a variety of other names, but you can find it if you search for Swedish torch. Maybe somebody in Sweden did it a long time ago. You take a log section, you stand it on its round side. So you cut the tree so that there's two flat sides, right? You know, the round parts. You stand it up. You cut down vertically with a chainsaw. There's other ways to do this, but I like this one. Uh, if we want to do it with hand tools, that's a different thing. I would also like to see that, and that can be done. I saw that in one of the many videos I watched about it. But I like a log that's stable and pretty big, and this might be a good way to use pieces of stump, even, or a broken tree somewhere. We can just where we don't want it, like if it falls on the road. That happened just recently. And so then we cut from the top down. Now, how many cuts to make is questionable. Uh, we make them pretty far down, like almost to the ground. It could be we could make a metal base for these if we were going to use them in a traditional manner, like in one spot. Or in the Bosque, we'd probably just put them in a sandy area and then twist them into the sand. These are not things that should be in the Bosque. I want all fire in the Bosque controlled, of course. But what I was thinking of was there's these parties in these little towns around here called posadas in the 12 days before Christmas, if I understand correctly. And different neighborhoods host different parties. And I think actually, and they have street fires there, like somebody will make a fire in the street. I think two things. One is I should know where I can get water on that street, probably at Nary's house, and I can get a bucket of water filled up as soon as I'm there, and then bring out my big disc fire thing and a bunch of firewood and just have a big fire in that that's really comfortable. Stick a screen over half of it at some point, a big metal screen, and feed it from one side and then move the screen around or push the coals around or something like that. Uh, and then when I'm done with the evening, pour water onto it, you know, with nobody right next to it, because it makes steam and shit. And then move that metal thing and the disc back into the van. I brought it there in the van. Keep up. And I brought the bucket. But that's off topic from Swedish torches. Swedish torches are primarily decorative. Now, most of the videos I watched, people cooked on them. I have other solutions for cooking. I think it's a cute one, but I think it's best use. Like we made some of those like years ago, and I was really happy with one of them more than the other, and we did a couple patterns, and I forget what it was now, which is pretty dumb. I tend to think that cutting vertically is a good idea. Some of them are made with a hole you go in the top and then in the side like a rocket stove. That is doable. You have to have hand tools for that to drill the hole or a power tool to do that effectively. You need just a drill, but what's nice is you can make them really quick. And you should use at least an inch and a half auger bit, from what I understand. Uh, make the hole a little bit bigger. Heck, if you want to get fancy, you could block the lower hole and slow it down. But in my case, what I'm imagining then is that because of all the ones I saw, actually, that was the one that had the prettiest controlled flame. It also probably burned the longest. And since I'm looking for cosmetic fires here more than anything else, I'm treating them more as a street lamp, and they could be even up along that cement wall there. Well, I wouldn't want them to fall on anybody. I mean, safety is the biggest concern. Uh, but all my friends live there, and so they can tell me where it's safe to put things or what I shouldn't do. So, and I do need to continue some other experiments with the Swedish fire log, actually. Like, what happens if I just take 4 sections of log and then tie them together with some wire or peg them together with some wooden nails See, I wouldn't really even need to peg them together because they're going to be really thick and low and heavy. In other words, each one is supporting itself by definition. So they're not as tall. But what I do is I squish them together and then I just start the fire in the middle. And then how much air goes through it just depends on how much gap there is. And we can try logs closer together, farther apart. We can turn a log. This is not a difficult puzzle. And then we drop in there some shavings from the pine resin collection and or a cote, something that really fucking gets shit going. And that fire goes up through the central column. And we just have to try that a number of times, I think. And then we could even video each one. I'm not saying do this at the party. Although, why not? I could just walk by each one and it could be a test session as long as there's no safety issue. The one I just mentioned is really easy to make and would probably burn a very long time, which might be inconvenient. There's probably a correct burn time for a nighttime party like that. It's just a family party. It's not an exciting party. It's not a festival-y thing. As far as I know, I can't remember. But as far as I know, everybody goes to sleep after it. It's like a little religious pilgrimage for the kids. And they sing little songs, and they're very cute. And then people give me ponche, and some people come around and they spike the ponche, which I appreciate. In fact, I like to be a guy who spikes other people's ponche. I did that a couple of years when I was there, and it was fun, like giving old ladies alcohol and getting them tipsy, and it was just really nice vibe of a thing. I haven't gone to very many of them. I should go to more. I should ask a couple of friends of mine, you know, who can go to parties, and I don't know how many parties there are. I forgot. I thought there was 12, but I'm not sure. But each street or area has its own party. If I got good at it, with the van, I could actually bring fire to some parties. It would be a shame to not bring them to all. In that case, what I should do is actually get really good at making rocket stoves out of logs or Swedish torches, depending on how you look at it, right? The two-hole one is like a rocket stove, and you can actually feed it to control how fast it goes. So that's why I kind of think it's the best cosmetic one because it seems like it would last the longest. Also, with the right tools, the easiest one to make. Hmm. That's an argument for that being a good party torch. Doesn't mean it's the best one for here. My whole desire and needs are different, and I can control space well, and I can not do this in the dry season. Having rainy season nighttime fires for the nights when it's not raining outdoors would be a luxury. It would be wonderful because there's no risk of fire. It's cold out, but it's not really that cold out. The cold comes on softer. Sometimes it's clouded over, and the sky is like a big blanket that keeps you nice and warm as long as you're dressed warmly. And of course, hot beverage in your hand and then good company that warms you up. So, so this is, I guess, an odd way to make a fire that actually uses less wood and has kind of the same cosmetics. It almost has a similar purpose like at a festival at Burning Man where they have burn barrels. And you can go over there. It's also a great way to get rid of any paper waste that you have. And I would like to have burn barrels here, but they don't look that cosmetically in tune with what I desire. So I'm willing to do it, but I want to pick when and where. And again, all those burn spots, I need to probably get a whole load of sand to put there. Sand is probably the least bad thing I can put there. Like gravel would suck. Gravel sucks. Never put gravel anywhere unless you absolutely have to. And that spot is probably going to turn into a garden of some kind wherever you dumped gravel. And so pick that carefully. It probably would turn into a cactus garden. So even if it's inconvenient, like if I need to get some gravel for mixing cement, I should have a spot for putting the gravel somewhere else. But, uh, and then mixing the gravel and the sand, I'm not into, like in the pile. The gravel annoys me because you can't walk on it well, and sometimes it has too big of rocks in it. It's shitty gravel, and the sand is already pretty harsh. It's not soft, pleasant beach sand. It's construction-y, porous sand. I don't know if I'd want to walk on it barefoot. I never have, but it doesn't feel pleasant in the fingers. Um, but it'd be great for making fire pits. And like I said, it doesn't matter in the rainy season, but the dry season is pretty long, and it has some cold nights. It would be nice to get out there on these nights as well. Right now, if I had a nice big fire and some people to chat with, it's a really still night. Like there's no wind, the crickets are going all happy, and I could make a fire pit that had a view of the lake somehow. Well, we'll see how that works out. I guess I just don't feel like being inside right now. But there's no lighting, no people, no fire. And last time I built a fire, it was too windy, and it was annoying. And until I get this place approved by the Department of Brian that it's okay to have any fires outside from early November until June something after the rains come, whenever they come, and then maybe some special exceptions. For example, every time there's a big rainstorm, we could have some fire pits that are specifically in places that get really kind of damp on purpose. I don't mean like a pool. That doesn't sound good. But if we've already got pretty dang safe places for fires, and then we actually route rain into some of them, maybe. Hmm. I'm kind of imagining a dug in pit with a spiraling entrance and seating all around it, and a spiral entrance to go in and a spiral entrance to go out, all dug into the ground. And so the heat radiates out better in there. There's less wind, so yeah, you'll get some smoke in your eyes maybe, but it won't like chase after you like it does out in the open. And we could put, you know, adobe walls around the spiral entryway to, well, we don't want to, capture wind and then spiral it down into it. Although, who knows? Maybe we would. Maybe that would enter into lots of fresh air, and maybe the spiral thing could be designed such that, yeah, if the air inside heats up, the cold air would naturally follow down the spiral. And the spiral needs to have a wall on it, which does use space, I realize. And this would be really hard to make these spirals stick enough because I don't like to build crap. Now, the wider those are, the further it has to be down. And there's probably a mathematical formula for that based on the angle of the spiral. And the spiral must angle very slowly, which reduces seating. That sucks. It's possible that on top, what I could do instead of spiraling is to have two entryways that were long ramps. Don't hide them, just make them. And top them off with a concrete top that is very securely built into the earth side walls and will never fucking fall down ever. Maybe build that even slightly raised as although we want to distribute the force, maybe raised with a stone foundation. Who knows? I don't know what that would do to the airflow, but it has to be really easy to walk in and out of the outside of it. And the outside of it could have protected areas that were cold. In other words, a roof. Uh, and I don't know if you'd have like one of these be a stairway and one of them be a ramp. It depends on the topography of where you're doing it. And of course, how steep you can go with a ramp is different than steep you can go with a stairway. I would like the ramp though, and I don't want it to be more than 15 degrees and less if possible. And that can go far. I mean, there could be a trail across it on top, a trail where you can overlook the fire pit. That would actually be pretty cool. Be a great angle. And if there were those two entryways, which don't take up any space, now one problem is how do you get across if you were to have the spiral and the stairway and the ramp that go directly down into it? How could you have them avoid each other? You couldn't. But the cool thing is the stairway and the ramp could intersect, and people could switch from one to the other at given locations. Almost tempting to have a walkway on top all the way right across the fire through the smoke. There's a temptation with the rampway to let, if you could, guide in cold air. Now, see if anything else intersected with it, it would screw up the airflow. Ramps are not a problem as long as they come in on the high point of just one spiral. You could still have both a stairway and a ramp. That would limit your topography because the angle that they have to both arrive somewhere down uh, where the ramp arrives at the bottom. There has to be a dugout room down there, and we can use ferro cement or preferably something stronger or reinforced to just make really damn sure concrete's cool. Make an artificial cave, where these entry systems. There's just three entries into a fire this way, and you could probably get away with digging a tunnel out somewhere. Anywhere along the spiral, you could dig a tunnel out, right? That's no problem. You can always expand underground as long as we're safe about it. This would be like the ultimate fire pit. I was in a fire pit that was the tiniest bit similar to this. I was thinking about it. It was at the Oregon Country Fair. I've talked about it before. It's just some seats going down to the ground. I should have somebody take a picture of it for me with a ruler in the shot so I can estimate what its size is. It was really comfy. I just liked it. I was in a good mood. And they had a little stage with a band. I don't think I'd want to do that. I generally don't want to combine music with most things. Although, of course, there could be times, a violin would sound really cool in there, right? And this fire could be sometimes a quiet fire and sometimes a chatty fire. It could be a meditative fire. There could be tiny fires on the sides in various intelligent spots. And they could serve even as built-in rocket stoves. That would be pretty cool, you know? That would be an amazing fire pit. Is that what I started out talking about? Huh. Well, I'm going to quit now. I thought I was talking about Swedish logs. There could be Swedish logs in there. That would be great. So if I get the cosmetic idea of burning wood down, I replace tiki torches in oil, and most tiki torches kind of suck. I don't want to use kerosene, but I want flame at night sometimes. And I think the Swedish torch is a really good solution for that. The one time we did it, I believe it was a New Year's we did it, little New Year's gathering here. It was some people who were traveling and stayed here. And really nice, eclectic group of people. And we had a pretty nice New Year's. And I know on the terrace, on the turret, what I call a turret in front of the lodge, I put one there between those two stone things, right? Because it's just this weird space I left. I don't know why I did that. I designed that, and I just said, well, let's do this here, let's do that here, and that's what I want. And that went fine. Well, what happened was we put a Swedish log there, and I put it there because I wanted it to be a little bit more protected, and mainly so people didn't hurt themselves on it. And they didn't. I went over there and I chatted with people, and the lighting was really nice on their faces, and they were leaning on one of the stone things. I was leaning on the other one. And there's a bunch of other fun shit that happened, but the Swedish log itself, that individual one was very successful. The problem is I already tried to do this experiment where I tried to make a few different ones, but then, I was partying and didn't really pay attention to which one it was that did better or even which one got put where. Maybe I knew for like a minute and then I just forgot. Oh, well, the science has to improve. Uh, and I only tried once, nothing we do ever works the first time. But I have lots of better ideas now. I know what materials to use. Um, I love the idea of using the wood chips left over from the pine trees because every waste product we want to turn into something else. And I love the idea that I could actually give these ahead of time to the people if they were made well and they were safe to the people who were having the parties, so that even if I don't show up because I don't feel like it, I can't party for that many days. Maybe it's 8 days before Christmas. I don't know what it is. Um, and I just, and I tend to drink a little bit because people keep giving me alcohol, and then I drink it. That's how it works. And my house is further away than theirs is. Like they all live nearby. Like they can just stumble home a little bit. I don't think I feel like stumbling in the dark much. So that would be a really nice way to give a gift to each party, and uh, without obligating me to do anything more. If they saw it at one party, then they would understand it, and I could provide it at the others. One year, Chelino's party, his street, that street, had its party last. And that would not be good if that was the first one I was going to do it at. I would like to do it on that street first. So, regardless of the order, I'm doing it on that street first. And then I'm going to, if it works, if people like it, if there's any response that people say, oh, that is neat, how did you make that? Because it's so easy, it's ridiculous with a couple of the ways. Maybe instead I should think of it in terms of business stuff because I always think about giving shit away and I'm exhausted. I'm so fried. I have a better idea. I know some guys that do woodworking in town. I should go get a food or something and sit around uh, and be there when they come home from work, whatever they do. I know the guy's name. I've met him several times, and they know how to make shit out of wood. This would be an odd product for them, and so they would actually just make wood rounds. I would tell them exactly what to do. I would send them links to the video, show them the video, and then say, hey, why don't you make these and then sell them at a cheap price to people for their party, or you give them away for their party. I'm giving away the wood, so heck, the people could give away the labor to do it. It's real easy. One thing is it has to be really dry wood, and I have that. And this thing happens in December, so um, yes, I can try this with oak. I can try this with pine. Uh, I don't know that I have that many really good wood rounds for this right now that are dry. And maybe it's better if they're a little bit wet on the bottom. Make the bottom heavier, and then the bottom wouldn't totally burn as quick. I don't know if that's smart or not. I might have some sitting around in a fire pit that have lived past their prime, and maybe I could reuse wood that was going to become firewood or mushroom food anyway. And hmm, what an interesting idea. I don't want to get too much into the resin on it. I just was thinking I could put a bunch of resin in different spots and make it burn better. The resin burns really black and it's not pleasant. And so that is one thing against using the little pine things, little pine shavings, except for loading it so you can get a nice quick start. But I think that especially if you're doing it with the two holes, which I think is the best lasting one, that you could have twigs to actually feed it. In other words, use it like a rocket stove. And maybe do put a pot on it. Why not? I mean, I could go with fewer of them. I mean, I always, make things bigger than they need to be. But it's really strong as a pot holder. It's better than what many people use, as long as it's lower than it is tall. We don't want any high center of gravity issue, and a pot of tea or even a whole pot of, something bigger could really throw the balance into a dangerous position where it could fall over. And that wouldn't have to happen very many times before it seemed extremely annoying. Now, if it's shorter, it's not going to burn as long. And then we think, okay, well, we'll make a wider one, right? Well, I may or may not have any wide wood, big wood around. I have to go around with this other eye and evaluate what wood do I have. And, you know, I have some big pieces that are not dry now, so they couldn't be used this year. And I don't know. Oftentimes, I'll leave a oak that gets hit by lightning, or I'll leave an oak that gets blown over by the wind, uh, or maybe it's just old. The biggest pines here, I don't know how old they are. Uh, I don't cut the biggest pines ever. Um, it's better to sculpt them after they're young adults, I think, is what I'm coming to as a conclusion. Unfortunately, those trees would not make a good thing for this purpose. But then you wonder, what if you took a whole bundle of medium-sized ones and really tried to cut them all the same size? You tried really hard. And then you fill that with little sticks or little pine shavings, light it up quick, and how fast it would burn is unknown, especially if only the middle ones had any combustible stuff to get them going. One idea is to actually put it on an angle, light the hole from below, anything in between, right? Whatever you've got in there, and then set it on a thing that airflow goes through really easily from the bottom. Like set it on two sticks. Okay, this is not rocket science. And then it's not so hot you can't move it. And so once it's really gotten going, and you're pretty dang certain it's going to go well, you take it off and you put it on the ground because enough air is going to come in through the sides of the sticks that don't fit perfectly together anyway. But because you've gone wider, now you've got a whole different kind of structure. So how many across am I imagining? I don't know. What if it was 10 across by 10 across? That's 20 pieces altogether. No, 10 across, each way, the diameter. And not the radius, not the circumference. 10 what? Inches is what I was thinking because I'm a fucking gringo. I think that's about, what, is that 25 centimeters, 20 centimeters? What did I say, 30 inches? I don't know. But that'd be a hefty bundle, wouldn't it? That would look impressive if it burned. And it might burn longer because of its construction. And it's already made, so you could just pull it out of the van, set it down, get it going, and you're done. I love that idea. I've also had the idea of fire starter logs, which is a whole different idea. But that's to make more, because what bothers me is some of these fires in the street, they're fine. They're actually fun to play with. I'm not knocking them. They're great. I wouldn't build one because I don't own a street, you know. Maybe that's why I guess I have to put sand down. Everybody else can just go out in the street and light a fire, as long as it doesn't bug their neighbors, right? Hmm. Well, that's all the thoughts I got on that. Good night. That was or whatever the hell's going on here.